Hari Om. Start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. So we are discussing for the past few talks the Advaita and Visishta Advaita, how they differ and where they really talk about the same thing. So from both Advaitic and Visishta Advaitic systems of philosophy, the Jiva is dependent on the Paramatma because he himself became many. So whatever the Nama Rupa or names and forms according to Advaita depends on the substantive, which is nothing but Brahman. So whenever there is whatever that is creation is nothing but Brahman himself became many. So he is a Karana and this is Karya. Karana means cause and Karya is a product. So one is the only one cause and other things are all products. So Eka Karanam, only Karanam is only one and Karyam means products are many. Just as gold is one whereas the ornaments are many. But this is also a Vivarta, that means a modification or transformation, less transformation. So therefore Karanam remains as a Karanam still, yet appearing as many Karyam. Karanam is cause or the material cause here and Karyam is nothing but the products. So we are interested in terms of what is the Karanam, what is the source for this, or what is the fundamental cause for the creation. If you accept that one is the world came, says how did it world originate? So this is an inquiry both by a scientist as well as from the point of a philosopher, says how did this come into picture. Scientists may say it's from a particle. This is how did the particle come into picture. So the cause for the particle again has to be investigated. You say when he is fundamental particles, he assumed the particles are pre-existing before the creation. But in the inquiry of particle, there is a conscious entity trying to inquire what is the particle. He doesn't ask the question, how did the conscious entity come into picture? Therefore, all the objective scientists are limited by the very nature of the investigation itself. That's why we went through that objective science can neither prove or disprove the existence of something beyond what we call God. So now we want to know what is the cause. So for that only Vedanta is a pramana. Vedanta means the ultimate truth is Vedanta. The truth means it's not just the books we are talking about. Veda means knowledge. Anta means ultimate. That ultimate knowledge is the fundamental cause and that is the Karanam. Karanam is the cause for all universe of completely different varieties of products. So therefore there is only one cause and the Karyam or the products are many, and this inquiry is required by all philosophers. So what is the cause? So most of the philosophers or religions says who created this world, and that's how they say who in terms of the intelligent cause. That means where is the intelligence behind it, because this is a wonderful creation where the laws are very specific and universal, and therefore the one who knows all these laws or one who created the laws must be super intelligent. So we call him a God. And therefore they only talk about the intelligent cause or nimitta karanam, and most of the religions stop with that and they don't ask the question how did he get material for the creation, because in any creation we have both intelligent cause and the material cause. Just as For the ornaments, you have a goldsmith and the gold. Goldsmith doesn't become into ornaments. Goldsmith uses the gold, so he needs a material to make ornaments. So there needs a upadanam, that is, material has to be required. So if we have to say, God, where did you get material for creation? And if he has to go somewhere else, then we ask the question, how did that material come into picture? So same way, when the scientist says there are fundamental particles, we ask the question, how did the fundamental particles come into picture? So therefore, one has to find out the cause for it. Ultimately, buck has to stop somewhere, and this is where we say the science may stop at the fundamental particles, but fundamental particles are inert, and they don't question where is the conscious entity who is inquiring into the fundamental particles. How did he come into picture, or how did consciousness come into picture? And he cannot analyze consciousness using the objective tools, because in the very objective tools are only limited for objects, and when he tries to use for analyzing the consciousness, he is making it into an object. That means he is making unconscious entity. Only objects which are unconscious can be investigated by the objective tools. So even in the mind, he doesn't know, he cannot analyze the mind. All he can go up to neurons and says, then he makes a theory that in this setup of neurons you have a mind or something. But that inquiry cannot be done using his tools. So the objective scientists have a problem even to analyze the subtle things, and all he can talk about some beta waves and all that, which is objectifiable entity. But what are those beta waves versus what are the thoughts, all that is not able to analyze using the tools that we have. So in that sense, we are talking about a karanam, a material cause also involved in every creation. So not only the goldsmith, he needs a gold required. In the case of this creation, both the intelligent cause and the material cause has to be one and the same, because God cannot go out somewhere else to get the material. So Vedanta says he himself became many. That means gold becoming many means it's a material cause. He became many. That means he himself is a material cause. So where is the God now? Therefore God is everywhere, all religions say, and therefore everything is nothing but God itself with different names and forms, just as a ring is different from a bangle is different from a necklace. So what is the substantive, what is the essence of ring and a bangle? It is the gold. In the case of this example, we can investigate the gold. Gold has its own properties that we can investigate, because this is only an example, which is the gold is a material. Whereas from the Brahman point, the whole universe came from him, sustained by him, and goes back into him. That's a statement of the Upanishad or Vedanta. And it says, Yatova imani bhutani jayante ena jatani jivanti yat prayam tabisham vishanti tad vinyasasva tad brahmeti. That is Brahman, from which Yatova imani bhutani jayante. All these bhutani, all beings are came from. And ena jatani jivanti, by which it is sustained, and yat prayam sabisham vishanti, into which it goes back. So that is what is called the cause, or the fundamental cause, and that's what we are trying to inquire. And therefore the one karanam and aneka karyam, eka karanam and aneka karyam. Therefore Upanishad says eka vidyanena sarva vijnanam bhavati. Knowing one thing, I know everything. Knowing the very fundamental substantive knowledge, I know essentially all other knowledge of everything, because the substantive of all that is nothing but the same cause that is appearing as many. And this is appearance according to according to Advaita, because it's called the Vivartavada. It is appearing, but still the same cause, only through appearance. Appearance is only a form, attributes for a name. So Nama and Rupa. Nama means name, and Rupa means object. Rupa means the form. Form is inclusive of all the attributes. So Shabda, Sparsa, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. 5 the attributes which are related to 5 sense organs. So, Nama, Rupa, Idam Jagat. This world is nothing but name and form superimposed on Brahman. Why Brahman? Because he himself became many, and therefore whatever I see is only Nama Rupa Atmakam Jagat. So what do I see? I cannot see the Brahman. Why? Brahman is imperceptible, because it is infiniteness appearing as many. Therefore whatever I can see is only attributes, and attributes belong to the products, that is Karyam. So therefore all our knowledge is only attributive knowledge. Attributive knowledge means we can only gather the attributes of the object through the 5 senses. So the 5 senses have to be operating, and through the operation of 5 senses we are able to gather Sabda, Sparsa, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. The 5 senses gather the information about the Sabda, Sparsa, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. This is Sabda is sound, that through the ears I hear, and Sabda Sparsa from the Sparsa is touch, from the skin touch I can find out the word, and also Sabda Sparsa Rupa form includes colors, and Rupa, Sabda Sparsa Rupa, Rasa by the taste, and Gandha by the smell. So these are the 5 attributes of the object from which I can determine what there is the shades of colors, shades of sounds, all that is included in the category of these 5. Each sense organ operates in its field. Ears can only hear, eyes can only see, and therefore every sense organ is a pramana for a particular field. Similarly, all other sense organs too. So therefore the karyam, that means the product that we see, is nothing but the attributive content only we can see. So if you go through the analysis of perception, what I really see is only the reflected attributes of the object gathered by the senses form a thought in the mind, and what is, because I am able to condense the object in the form of, or transform the object in the form of a thought in the mind. So thought is in my mind, object is out there. The form, attributes, and all that belongs to the object there. So attributes do not leave the object. What I am gathering is only reflected attributes of the object, which forms an image in my mind and which forms a thought in the mind. So when I say I am able to see objects and the world here, and therefore experiencing the world, the experience is only through the mind and through the form of attributive content only. I cannot see the substantive, which is karanam, and that karanam is only one, because I cannot differentiate the karanam. Karanam is the cause of the whole creation, and through perceptual process. So Brahman is imperceptible, and I have to know what is the cause by analysis through the inquiry only. So there is one cause, karanam, and eka karanam, and that cause is changeless. Why? Because it's infinite. If it is also changing, there must be another one changeless in the changing things. So the whole world is changing, so there must be a cause, a changeless entity which does not undergo any change as the world is changing. That's the law of conservation. And that's how the equations are, even in the chemistry, or balancing the equations is nothing but there is a material balance. That means there is a conservation of material. The amount of here should match the amount of there. So that is conserved. There is a changeless entity in terms of these changing reactions. In the same way, whenever there is a changing occurs, there has to be a substratum or adhishtanam. That's what in Sanskrit is, the substratum, that which doesn't change. And from the point of Vedanta, the adhishtanam is nothing but Brahman only. Therefore Brahman himself became many, and Brahman is imperceptible, and that's the reason why we need a subtle intellect to see that which is imperceptible, that which is changeless, and that is which is nityam, and that is karanam. Karanam, that is a cause which is only one, and that which is changeless, therefore it is Nityam. Nityam means eternally remaining the same, and that is Satyam, that which definition of Satyam is that which does not undergo any change. All these things are important. So why do I need to know Karanam? I can live whole life going around without knowing all this. I don't need Vedanta also. If you don't need Vedanta, then you don't need it. Only Vedanta comes into picture when I have an inquiry. Where did I come from? Where did the world come from? Why am I putting here? Why am I suffering? So as long as I am happy, I don't even inquire anything. So I have everything I have, then there is no problem. Only I will start questioning, why am I suffering? And that comes only when I have suffering, and the suffering comes because we have to go through the different stages of life itself. Therefore, asti, jayate, vardhate, viparnimate, upasyate and vinasyati. See, that which is 6 modifications that I go through. That means I am as in the egg, I'm conceived, and then I'm born, and I grow up, and then I slowly become the old, and then things are deteriorating, and ultimately I get died. So I pass away. So this is what the modifications of the body. When I think I am only the body, I don't inquire what it is. Only this Vedanta comes into picture only when intelligently ask what is the cause for it. So when the apple is falling down, nobody bothered about it. Only scientists start asking, why is apple falling down? Says, why are you asking that question? Apples have been falling from the beginning. Just eat the apple, thank God it's falling, and just go. Says, no, why is it falling? So the cause for it is only an intellectual anxiety to know what is the cause. So what is the cause for the whole universe itself? Why am I born here? Why am I born in a particular family? If the facilities are not having facilities, with the food, without the food, all things come into picture only when the inquiry starts, or when the curiosity to know comes into picture. And that's an intellectual navigation for a human being to find out what is the cause. And what do I gain by knowing that cause from which the whole universe came? 2 things. One is from the point of intellectual anxiety, this is, I want to know the truth. And therefore, knowing truth is satisfying that intellectual curiosity. Now I know how the whole universe came. Universe includes even I also, because I am part of the whole universe only. And the second problem is, once I realize that this Karanam is Nityam, that means eternally remain, and Satyam, that is the absolutely truth, then if I know that, then I have something to hold on to. Because I want a protection, I want emotionally, I need something, a shelter, and Vedanta provides. All other shelters are continuously changing, so they cannot provide you the shelter. So what is the shelter? That which is changeless alone can give you the shelter, and that is the knowledge of Brahman only. Therefore, not only intellectual curiosity, but emotional need also is required for a human being who is suffering. So that ananyas chintayantoma yejana paryupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogatshemam bhamyam. So it's an assurance by the Lord. He says, whoever is given everything else, ananyas chintayantoma, no other thought other than me, then who surrenders to me completely, and I take care of yoga and kshema. Yoga is trying to gain what you want, and kshema is protecting what you have. So all that is, I'll take care of that, and that is an assurance I need. Therefore, knowing the Lord, and even all philosophical traditions subscribe for that, in a sense that I want to know the Lord, so that I can surrender myself, so that I can be safe or safety, or I can be happy. So therefore, Karanam, inquiring into the cause, is the fundamental, and therefore in the material cause is much more, because he himself became many. So when I inquire into the whole universe that I am seeing, I have to see in and through the universe only, his presence only. So Jagada Ishadhihi Yukta Sevanam. So Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says The Ishvara is not just in the temple, the whole universe is nothing but his form only. And that's what is the Vishwarupa in the 11th chapter of Gita. So everything is nothing but the Lord and his form, and inquiring into that will help me know what is the nature of the Lord. That's called Jignasu. So with that understanding, I have to inquire. So both Visishtadvaita and Advaita looks for, because it's a material cause, not only intelligent cause, which all religions accept, but is also material cause. So therefore he himself is everywhere. So that's why he is called the omnipresent. He is present. That's why you would say omnipresent only, because everything is nothing but him only. But I don't see him in everything. For that only I need a jnana chakshu. That means I need a wisdom eye to see in and through every object that is there, the Brahman that is the very substantive of the whole. Therefore, whenever I see, we said only we are looking at the attributive content, but we do not have the substantive knowledge. Substantive knowledge, we cannot have it through perceptual process or through any analysis, because even science is only looking for attributive content only. Therefore, only way to gain the substantive knowledge, that means what knowing is this, that is what is called Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam Bhavati. Knowing one thing, we will know everything. And that is what essentially involved in inquiring into the nature of this universe, and also what is the cause for the universe. That is essentially is important in terms of inquiry. So we are looking at both from the Advaitic point and Visishtadvaitic point, what is Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam Bhavati. From then point, if you know the Lord, then you know everything also. We know Lord everything only because Lord himself is becoming many in different names and forms. We'll now go into the little bit more details in terms of Akhanda Akara Vritti, and also what is the Avatara aspect of it, how both Visishtadvaita and Advaita addresses these issues. That will stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.